In Operation Epic Fury, we lost 13 wonderful souls, wonderful, special people. These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't. They will never have a nuclear weapon. I'm sure you know that.
All right. President Trump on Monday noting the American casualties from the war in Iran. Those 13 killed in action join a long list of other United States service members who gave the last full measure of devotion. Let's talk about one of them, Lance Corporal Jose Gutierrez, born in a slum in Guatemala and orphaned at just 8 years old. Gutierrez traveled more than 3,000 miles by foot, car, and train across the California border in 1997. 5.5 years later, he became one of the first 2 American servicemen killed in action in the Iraq War following the September 11th attacks. His story highlighted this week on Memorial Day in a piece titled "An American Son" for the American Times Substack. The author of that piece is Tim Barnacle, and Tim joins us now. Tell us more about this story. It really it hits hard in a number of different ways.
Yeah, Lance Corporal Jose Gutierrez from Guatemala. He came to this country with nothing, and he sought something, that one thing that so many who come to this country seek, and that's a chance.
Right.
And when he was given that chance, and that chance being a roof over his head, a foster family that actually loved him, a chance in education, after September 11th, he gave everything. He gave all. He enlisted in the Marines in March of 2002, and less than a year later, he deployed to Iraq and became one of the first U.S. servicemen killed in the Iraq War. And he shouldn't be remembered as, you know, this president and this administration probably remember him as an immigrant or a Guatemalan, but as a patriot, as a hero, and as a U.S. Marine.
Mike, I think you know him.
How did you find out about this?
I looked up the casualties from the Iraq War when the Iran War started, and the president so offhandedly, you know, said of the 13 or 14 who had died. I looked up from the Iraq War. I was, 10 years old when that war started. So, like so many Americans, been living with these forever wars. And his story just stood out as, one of the most remarkable I've ever read.
And Tim, one of the reasons he joined the United States Marine Corps just a few months after 9/11 was actually to expedite his U.S. citizenship. He wanted so badly to be an American that he joined the fight in Iraq that ultimately cost him his life.
Yeah, and it's one of these things. We don't think of someone like Lance Corporal Gutierrez as your average Marine, obviously, but there are right now actively and on reserve 50,000 U.S. military servicemen and women who were actually not born in this country. 5% of the veterans that have served from the revolution to the reckoning we have now were not born in this country. So his story, again, is a uniquely American one, even though he was someone who was born and is now buried in Guatemala.
Became a U.S. citizen on April 2nd, 2003, 12 days after he was killed. Let's take a step back, if you will, and you started to go there. Just the idea, traditionally, that is who makes up a portion of our armed services. They are immigrants. There is a thought here that those who make the decisions to send people to war, well, right now they're not sending people to war their own sons and daughters. I mean, there are exceptions to that, of course, but to speak about it, this is such an American story right here.
No, and just from the Memorial Day remarks, Donald Trump's idea of a memorial is, a golden statue to himself. What he said on Memorial Day of, he was glad that there weren't too many people named Donald in Arlington National Cemetery, which is, if this country has sacred ground, that is it. But again, when someone tells you who they are, as this president has, you should believe them. Think about what he said to John Kelly in 2018, that those buried in France were suckers and losers. We all know over a decade ago what he said of John McCain, that, he wasn't a war hero. And again, what he just said of Memorial Day. So we know who Donald Trump is, but now the question is, as we enter the 250th, anniversary of this country, is who are we?
Yeah, do we care? The new piece titled "An American Son" is available to read on the American Times with Tim Barnacle Substack. Tim, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.